Hey, what up? It's Brad with Home Love Construction. Keep knocking my mic in my intros. Welcome to the Critical Path podcast. I'm here with I'd say kind of like a pillar of the community from Pasco County, which is where I grew up, Dewey Mitchell. Dewey's got a really cool life story, and he runs a really big, important business in Pasco County. I would say from my perspective, this may or may not be true, but the general public view of Dewey's business is that it's the biggest real estate brokerage in Pasco County. I don't know if that's supported by facts, but that's always been my perception of your business. So thank you for being on here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell us what you do and a little bit about you.
Dewey Mitchell is my name. I'm a second generation Pasco County, third generation Floridian, and grew up in Pasco. And actually, along with my business partner, Alan Crumbly, we own the Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices franchise in the Tampa Bay area. We're housed in Trinity, but we have offices in 6 different counties. And so
wow.
we're spread out.
Yeah.
And, but Pasco is our home for sure.
Yeah. And so let's just dive right into the backstory of you. You know, we were talking before we sat down. You've had, I would say, and Jeff, and just for audience to know, Dewey and my dad Jeff have known each other for a while. Jeff actually worked for you as a realtor many moons ago. But he loves to say you've had kind of a Forrest Gump story of life. You know, he says that about you.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that.
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So you, as you said, you were born in Pasco County. You wound up going to Alabama for college.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like going from a really small town? Because when you grew up in Newport Richey or Port Richey?
Well, I grew up in Newport Richey. I grew up in what is now Trinity, of course, and out on the ranch. I did go to high school down in Tampa my last 2 years.
Yeah.
And
oh, really?
Tampa Robinson. Yeah.
Why is that?
To play football.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. And fortunately, my parents, I was the youngest child, and my father was a cattle rancher. He was his own boss.
Yep.
And so we rented an apartment down in South Manhattan Avenue, and my mother and I stayed down there, and I went to school. My father commuted back and forth.
Wow.
And again, it was a labor of love on their part, and it turned out to be really fortuitous for many reasons. I was able to get a scholarship to the University of Alabama to play football, and then more importantly, I met my future wife there.
Really?
And
in high school?
In high school.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And we will have been married 45 years here, and we'll be married 45 years here in the end of December. So
congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. So anyway, that's how I got into the going to the University of Alabama. I got to play for Coach Paul Bryant.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the younger people don't know who that. Don't know much about Coach Bryant, but he was very much legendary, very much like Nick Saban today. Coach Bryant was viewed as the Nick Saban back in our day.
Yeah.
And their records are pretty comparative as well. Yeah.
Amazing. And so after Alabama, so we're also talking about judo. You've got some accomplishments as a what is a judo fighter called?
A judoka.
Judoka?
Yeah.
Wow, what a great word. So you are a accomplished judoka. Why don't you talk about that for a second and what the pinnacle of that was?
Yeah, that's interesting. I started judo when I was 5. And the reason for that,
I didn't think about that. You started judo when you were 5 in a relatively low population area.
Well, there's an explanation there.
Yeah.
Both sets of grandparents lived in St. Pete.
Okay.
And my brother, who was 6 years older than me, struggled with childhood asthma.
Oh, wow.
And the doctors prescribed some type of physical activity, and we had a friend of the families that was involved with judo at the St. Petersburg
Okay, I have to interrupt you here because I'm just like, you said the doctor prescribed physical activity.
Yeah.
I wish doctors would just freaking prescribe physical activity today for kids. Continue.
Well, I think for expansion of his lungs and whatnot, you know, and for coordination.
Absolutely.
And judo for somebody that age, well, he was 6 years older than me,
Yeah.
my brother. Anyway, so the YMCA in St. Pete had a really, really strong judo program, one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
And so that's my brother started there, and since I was
Wow.
along, they
Yeah.
just threw me in there as well.
Get in
And
there, son.
so I started judo at 5, and
Wow.
did it until well into the 80s.
Yeah.
So so it was, and it really helped me out. I think any sport that I tried to pick up later on,
Yeah.
was easy for me to pick up just
Really?
because of the coordination, the aspects. It's almost like gymnastics for a youngster to do judo, in terms of
Yeah.
your dexterity and balance and whatnot.
Yeah.
It was really, really a helpful sport and a great sport in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of high level people in the business world who
Yeah.
judo is their outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can
Yeah.
actually think of quite a few off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And so, and judo was a little more than just a hobby for you. So you wound up actually being on the 1984 Olympic team
Right.
for judo.
Right.
Where were the Olympics in
They
1984?
were in Los Angeles.
Amazing.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, a group of us, our team, we got together last year in Colorado Springs. That's where the Olympic Training Center is, and they've
Yep.
got a Olympic Museum there now, U.S. Olympic Museum. And we went there for a function, and we're planning on getting together in Los Angeles 4 years from now.
Cool.
A little reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
the next Olympic Games is
Yep.
in LA. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Amazing.
That'll be a 44-year anniversary at that point.
Yeah. Okay. And so what was that like? Just, I mean,
Yeah. That was
how did that even start of you getting on the Olympic team?
Okay. Well, as a youngster, I was fortunate enough to be successful, and I did really well in the national tournaments and on into high school, and then in collegiate, I was a collegiate champion and then a senior national champion.
Yeah. Wow.
But once I got done playing football,
Yeah.
I went ahead and competed in judo, specifically at that point.
Yeah.
So you accumulate points, as you go to tournaments around the
Yeah.
country and outside of the country, and I accumulated the points to get me into the Olympic trials, and I won the Olympic trials.
Wow.
Made the team in '84. Actually, I was a first alternate in 1976 for the Montreal Olympics.
Yeah.
And back then I was still playing football.
Oh, wow.
And Coach Bryant gave me permission to miss a couple of days of spring football practice to go try to qualify for the Olympic trials in '76.
Yeah.
And I ended up losing in the last 30 seconds.
Wow.
Or I would have been on the team in '76.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know what happened in 1980, the boycott. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was no Olympics in 1980, right? Or it was,
there was,
it was boycotted by the U.S.
we did not participate in it. Yeah.
because it was in Russia. Is that
yeah,
right? Yeah.
that was in Moscow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What was your take on that at the time?
Well, obviously very disappointed, being an athlete. I think, and what's ironic about the whole thing is we ended up in Afghanistan. Afterwards, the Soviets left and we went in.
Yeah.
So we did the same thing they did.
Yeah.
Really. But it's a shame that the politics got involved, because I believe that athletics is a really strong builder of bonds. I mean,
it is.
I think there would have been a lot more good that would have come out of it.
Yeah.
Politically.
Yeah.
If we'd have gone.
Yeah.
In retrospect.
Yeah.
I'm
Totally.
not questioning the decision made at the time. I mean, you make your decisions based on the best information you have.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed, and I think in retrospect, I think everybody regrets that it ever happened.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's funny what you just said about, athletic sports, athletic events really creating a really strong bond between people.
Right.
If you look, like I'm thinking about, so I went to West Point. I graduated in 2015, and I'm thinking about classmates of mine. There's two groups of people who I still would reach out to today and have a good, like line of communication to them because we have a tighter bond. it'd be the guys who were on the triathlon team with me.
Mm-hmm.
I did triathlon in college.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And then, so sports, right?
Yeah, that's endurance sport.
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Yeah, a lot of time spent together.
Yeah.
And then the other group of people, which it doesn't seem like it, but it's really an athletic event, would be the guys that I went to Ranger school with, because that's just a very physically trying experience, but very similar to a sporting event. And yeah, that's true. That really is where people, get their closest bonds.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have anybody who you're still in touch with from
I talked to one of my former football teammates almost every day.
Wow.
And of course, we had a lot less judo teammates.
Yeah.
There was only 8 people on our team when on my Olympic team, but I've talked to 2 of them already today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I stay in close contact with both my football friends and the judo friends.
Yeah. And so after judo, you said you retired shortly after the Olympics.
Right.
Then you went into real estate, which is now the business that you're in, and that you've, really made your mark on Tampa Bay and Florida in.
Yeah.
And so how did that go down?
Well, actually, I've started working in real estate while I was still competing.
Yeah.
I graduated from college in 1979, got married, and came home, and I sold printing paper for a company called Mac Papers.
Yeah. And
my wife was an educator, so she taught, which was great because we depended on her income and her credit worthiness, to get the first car and that kind of thing. And
life of a salesman.
Oh yeah. And so started working in real estate in 1982.
Yeah.
And I talked to my business partner. He was one of my teammates at Alabama, Alan Crumbly.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask you how you met Alan.
Yeah. I talked him into moving down here. I talked him into it. I sent him job opportunities, and he was able to get a job with the local real estate company selling professional lots.
Yeah.
Up off of State Road 52 in front of the Beacon Woods development.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so anyway, then I got into the business as well. And then, we did our own work, our own sales.
Yeah.
But then we decided to buy the company, and the owners of that were great guys, wonderful guys. They wanted to sell the company.
Yeah.
They wanted us to buy it.
Yeah.
And so we all made it happen. And so we started in November 1st, 1984.
Just for the audience, that's a man who knows how to make a deal. We all just made it happen. That's the mark of a true deal maker. We all just made it happen.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, back then, I think the former owners are the ones that really made it happen. They were very good to us and gave us the business, sold us the business in a way that, we could survive the payoff and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and then like Alan, my partner, he likes to say, and it's true, he said, we were in business. We stayed in business in spite of ourselves. We proceeded to make every mistake you can make.
Yeah.
But somehow figured out a way to survive it until we got a little bit better. At what we were doing. Yeah.
What would you say was the biggest mistake you made early on, and then how did you remedy that?
That's a great question. We made so many of them.
Which one comes to mind first?
Okay. So we bought a phone system.
There you go.
Which, in business school, everything was theoretical back then.
Yes.
Didn't really learn too much.
Oh, no. Still.
Yeah. Doing copier leases and signing contracts with large companies. There was a vendor that had sold phone contracts or telephone systems to some of the local businesses. And we had an antiquated one. It was an old GTE phone system.
Yeah.
And, there was only a few phones, and we were trying to grow the company immediately.
Yeah.
And so we wanted a lot more phones available for a lot more salespeople.
Yeah.
And, it just so happens that the gentleman came and, he had the really, really nice phone system. easy terms. It was a lease situation.
Yeah.
And, of course, there was about an $8,000 balance that we still owed GTE,
Yeah.
To be paid off.
Oh, okay.
And that was part of the deal. That got paid off. And about 60 days later, we get a call from GTE saying if we don't make that payment,
Wow.
that they're going to cut our phone system off.
Oh, wow.
And so, it wiped out everything we had
Yeah.
in the operating account.
Wow.
Come to find out, the gentleman, it was a scam.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, he never did pay, obviously didn't pay off the existing note with GTE, which was part of the deal.
I got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And of course, we were 28, 29 years old. And,
Yeah.
Policeman came and a very nice gentleman, and he said the guy had closed the business, gone to Tampa, and reopened in a similar name.
Yeah.
We said, great, just tell us where he is. We'll go back there. We'll go over there and get our money back.
Yeah.
He goes, no. Don't do that. Don't do that. You'll just get in trouble.
He already told you, similar name.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
We just, by the way, that's after, the gentleman got caught, the next day we came to the office and there was a stack of old GTE phones sitting out by the front door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
huh.
But I mean, that was just being naive and,
yeah.
And, we just didn't know better.
Yeah.
And we made several mistakes like that.
Yeah.
We hired a guy to blacktop the parking lot.
Uh-huh.
And the first time it rained, we saw all the blacktop go down the storm sewer. So, I mean, yeah, it's
that
comical.
Is unbelievable.
Yeah, comical some of the mistakes we made. But,
yeah.
But anyway, we learned.
Yeah.
And we survived.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we don't make quite as many mistakes as we did back in those days.
Yeah. And you're in the real estate industry, really, when you're running a brokerage, that's a sales organization.
Right.
Right. So the cool thing, me doing construction, a lot of contractors, obviously on the construction side, the delivery has to be good or you will lose the ability to sell through ruined reputation.
Right.
That's how it goes. But a lot of contractors get sucked into that exclusively to the loss of their ability or thinking about, hey, how do I sell more in the future and actually grow my ability to sell? So it's interesting to see how, like so many contractors, they take the selling for granted and they're like, oh, the business will just come. But I've observed it doesn't work like that. So how in growing your business, you started with one location, right?
Right.
It was just one location.
Right.
And now how many, I know at one time it was many offices, but then once it kind of got to more remote workforce, how many agents do you have working for you roughly? Like
we have a little over 950 agents.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We have, at one time had 22 offices. We're down to 18 right now.
Yeah. And that makes sense because you don't have to have an agent be in the office like you used to with the landline, the maps.
Right. And the ones that we shut down were satellite offices, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense.
We're going to the higher volume, larger office.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so basically you have, I know there's more to it than this, but a very simple way to put it is you have 950 salespeople in your business, which is incredible. I'd love to have 950 salespeople.
Yeah.
Is that the mentality that you take towards that? And what is your, for agents, how do you coach them on selling more?
Okay. So we, first of all, it's a full service company. So we have sales. We also have property management.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Which is a very, very, very important component.
Yeah.
We do commercial sales, commercial property management. We own a title insurance company.
Yeah.
And we're joint venture partners in a mortgage company, and we're just about to
I didn't know
open an insurance agency.
Oh, so, awesome.
Property and casualty insurance agency. And
what's the name of the mortgage company?
New Res.
Nice.
Preferred Lending Services. New Res is our partner in it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Preferred lending services. Yeah.
Cool.
And so the idea is that the real estate transaction from start to finish can be very clunky.
It can.
It's almost like going to one doctor and then you go to another doctor, and the communication sometimes isn't the best in the world. And, a real estate transaction can be the same way, or is the same way, actually.
Yeah.
So, the idea is to try to provide, as good a service as humanly possible, and do it in such a way that the consumer, it's more seamless to the consumer, and a better overall experience for them. So that's what we're constantly after, and it sounds easier than it is.
Yeah,
easier said than done.
Yeah,
but the salespeople, we have found that there isn't any one particular personality type,
right,
that outperforms another.
Yep.
We've had a lot of people very vibrant. They come walking in, sit down, great interview. You go, these people, they are going to do great, and they don't do well. And then we have somebody else that'll come in that is very thought-provoking, kind of, very deliberate in what they say and not real lively. But they do the fundamentals. They do everything that they need to do to be successful over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And we have found that, it's a relationship business.
Yeah. That's right.
And if you stay in contact with your relationships and you make sure that you are available and willing to help out, long before or after any particular transaction, then you have customers for life.
Yeah.
And that's what we're really after.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So what's your biggest advice to new agents?
So there's a book that people ask me that question on quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they also say, well, what'd you do if you could start over again? I think the gentleman that I probably admire and respect in our industry more than any other is a gentleman named Larry Kendall.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book called Ninja Selling.
Yeah.
And it's a process book. It talks about the personality types, but it also talks about the things that you can do on an annual basis, broken down to a daily basis.
Wow.
Of, staying in contact with your customer base and your prospect base and doing the things that will be helpful to them. And so they will think of you and look at you as their professional advisor. And so that everyone in our company, we give them the book, and then we also have what they call oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the term, but a ninja installation.
Got it.
And we do those a couple of times a year.
Oh, okay.
And
kind of to activate agents and get them actually doing the steps.
Oh yeah. And then we have the president of our company is extremely bright, Casey Bryan. We have a marketing. She makes sure that that we're very, very thorough in our educational processes and whatnot. And we have a really good marketing department and our market presidents who are the leaders of each one of our branches.
Yeah.
We work on them extremely thoroughly to make sure that they get the consistent message out to the sales force and everybody's getting what they need to be doing, the things they need to be doing to be successful.
Yeah. What would you say is like the desired image for Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices? Like what's the image that you're going for? Because I have an image in mind.
Yeah.
I've gotten to interact with the company a lot, but pretty much exclusively positive interactions. But I'd love to know what like message are you going for to the public?
Well, I think if you look at hierarchies, I don't know. I think that may be what you're talking about. You have certain companies that are known as luxury realtors, as an example,
sure,
all the way down to I would say more on blue collar.
Sure,
I would say that we would be looked at in most markets, either luxury or upper echelon, if you will.
Yeah.
In terms of pricing.
Yeah.
That's where we would be positioned.
Pricing of listings.
Yeah. So you have a median sales price.
Yeah.
in the Tampa Bay area,
Yeah.
we believe we are positioned above that
Above
median
that.
sales
Yeah.
price.
Yeah.
Not through the roof, but
Yeah.
not, not at the median,
Yeah.
but above the median.
I would
Yeah.
say that the branding communicates that pretty
Right.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that comes together. Just, on the property management side, I've gotten to work with, man, it's been forever since I've talked to him, but I want to say Tom Rinaldi, Tom and Mary. Is that right? Oh, Gaspari.
Yeah. Tom Gaspari.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apologies,
I just saw
Tom,
him a
if you see
couple
this.
days ago. Yeah.
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 Man, what's
Tom and
fun-
Kathy.
Tom
Yeah.
and Kathy. There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah. So Kathy runs that area, right?
Yeah. Well, she recently retired from management.
Oh, okay.
Very recently.
Yeah.
And but she and Tom still work together on the sales side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She had for her health, I believe.
Sure.
It needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So-
that business is just the
Yeah.
property management
Oh,
business
yeah.
is just
Yeah.
high traffic is what I'd say.
Yeah.
There's
It's
just
very,
a lot.
very labor intensive.
Yes, it is.
Very labor intensive. And it's a good business. It's a good margin business, and
Yeah.
and we have a lot of satisfied customers, and
Yeah.
and we have a we have an agreement that if even another realtor that doesn't want to do property management,
Yeah.
If they have a customer that wants to rent for now, maybe buy later, if that we will honor that. If that person wants to buy 5 years later,
Oh, nice.
we'll send them back to the agent
Oh,
that
that's
sent them
great.
to us in the first place.
Yeah.
And we're very, very stringent about that. We make sure that happens.
Yeah.
And so we have a good good group of people that refer business over to us because of that.
Yeah. I love that. So I'd love to talk about, we've talked a lot about the past and kind of what's presently going on with the business. I'd love to talk about future.
Right.
What future plans do you have in the real estate business? You mentioned a seamless experience for the client. Is that kind of your top priority going into the future?
It's interesting. We've seen change virtually almost every year, all the time. I mean, for 40
Almost
years now,
more than a
Alan and I,
year.
And the recent changes and what's happened with the National Association of Realtors and the Department of Justice and all that. That's just another change. And, so we've been through a lot of those. And, but, we, we really strive to make sure that we stay on top of those changes. Yeah. And we are staking our future on being what you would call a full service broker.
Love that.
There's a lot, I would say the majority of most new brokerages that are opening today are they do more discount work, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's certainly a place for that, but that's not who we are.
Yeah,
to give it an analogy, I would say we'd be more like the Nordstroms, if you will.
Yep.
Because we want to provide that wonderful customer service.
Yeah,
and and we've worked very, very diligently for many, many years to gain credibility. And, and we tell our people that, it may take you 25 years to gain credibility and you can lose it in 5 minutes.
that's right.
So, we're very, very cognizant of that. And, we make sure as much as we can that anybody that's associated with us, that they sustain that credibility.
Yeah.
And so we're after, the full service company that we can provide that, that people will think about us over time and they'll see value in what we do.
Yeah.
And that we're not just discounting.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And as far as, we were talking before about deals that you're involved in, because obviously you're very much a businessman at this point, but you said you still like to get involved in deals of your own from time to time. And you said mostly land at this point is kind of your game. So what, just in the Tampa Bay area in general, what trends are you seeing or what are you excited about land wise in the next, 10, 20 years?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, in the state of Florida, way back when Governor Reuben Askew was the governor, he thought that the state was sprawling too much, and he wanted to
Oh,
see
wow.
more. More of a coordinated effort relative to land use.
Oh, wow.
And so, ever since then, the state has had a lot of say-so in what they call the future land use of each county, each
Yeah.
municipality. And it's become more and more that way. I think the process to get from one step to another, and I know you know this because
Yeah.
of the business you're in
Yeah.
too, takes a lot longer than it used to.
Yeah, oh, yeah. As
I
far
thi-
as building something?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I can remember back when Fred Mark was the county administrator down here in Pinellas, over there at Clearwater, the county building. If you walked into that building and you had everything you needed,
Yeah.
you could go from station to station and you could walk out with a permit.
Wow.
And
I would love
nowadays
that.
that
That'd
doesn't
be
happen
great.
anymore.
No.
And the governments are taking a lot more interest in planning. They're
Yeah.
taking a lot more interest in design than they used to.
Yeah.
It used to be, and when you speak of land, you could take a piece of land and say, well, I want to get it rezoned. And as long as it conformed to the underlying land use
Yeah.
that the state,
Dictated.
then it would take you maybe 90, 120 days to get it rezoned.
Yeah.
Now, it may take 2 years.
Yeah.
And very, very, very seldom do you see what they call Euclidean zonings anymore. It's all MPUDs, master plan unit development is what
Yeah.
that stands for. And they want to be involved in the design.
Yeah.
And which is a kind of a new phenomena.
Yeah.
And on one hand, I see both sides of it. On one hand, it can be irritating because of the length of things and the
Agreed.
yeah. On the other
Agreed.
hand, I think maybe long term you go, 30, 40 years from now, you look at it and say, well, that was a good idea. So
Could be.
yeah.
Could
It's kind of like deed restrictions in a community. If you look at some of the older communities that didn't have them, especially the old retirement homes,
Yeah.
that didn't have deed restrictions. Now, they're some of them aren't as well kept as they need to be.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
The communities that have the deed restrictions, although they may be painful at times,
Yeah.
they seem to hold up and their value holds up a little bit better.
Yeah. And then they
Yeah.
keep a better kind of community image.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The look is better.
Right.
So in terms of uses for land, what do you see? Like, are there any, changes in what land is being used for now versus say, 20, 30 years ago, or any look at what it's changing to as far as residential, commercial, mixed use type
Yeah.
stuff? What does that look like?
Yeah,
right now?
I think probably the biggest single shift would be what you just said. Separation of residential, separation of commercial, separation of industrial. The theme now is becoming more mixed use.
Mhm.
To take advantage of walkability and
Yeah.
pedestrian, travel
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, and more compact development. And some of that is due to just the high cost of land and the high cost of construction today.
Sure. Yeah.
So you have to get along with a little bit less.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest trend. I mean, I think nationwide, I think there's more and more rentals.
Yes.
In the multifamily sector, I think there's more homes for rent. I think that's going to be a trend that I think will continue as affordability becomes more difficult.
Yeah.
I think retail. The biggest change going on right now is probably office.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, a
Mhm.
lot of people realized that they could get along working outside of the
Yeah.
office. You got Zoom and Teams, Microsoft Teams, and all
Yep.
that now, and so I think the office sector is probably going through the biggest jolt right now,
Yeah.
as vacancy rates have have
What
been pretty high.
what do you think happens with that space? Because I was just actually, it's funny. My wife and I were driving through Clearwater. Our office is at Cleveland and Belcher.
Yeah.
If you know where that is.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
next to the post office. And we were driving through. We were going to like the grocery store or something because we live near there. And I was just counting. I counted like 10 major office buildings that are either abandoned. They have the no trespassing
Yeah.
signs on them, or there's very clear that they're vacant. Just no
Right.
signs of activity or business. The signs are empty. What do you think happens with all that space?
Well, that's a great question. In some cases, it ends up getting demolished and used
Yeah,
for
sure.
something else.
Yeah.
There's a term right now that's becoming more and more of a well-known term called adaptive reuse,
Okay.
where you
What does that
actually
mean?
you repurpose the buildings for another use.
Oh yeah.
Say take an office building and turn it into apartments or
Yeah.
lofts.
Yeah.
A lot of industrial, and not so much in our area because we don't have the really old industrial buildings like say the Northeast and the Midwest.
Right.
Lots of those properties, those old warehouses, are being turned into lofts.
Wow.
It's going to be interesting going forward. The malls that are going through
Oh my gosh.
changes.
Yeah.
I know the Seminole Mall has just been repurposed.
Has it really?
Yeah, it's been, a lot of it is new. A
Yeah.
lot of it was torn down and repurposed.
Right. Yeah.
And some of that is taking place around the country. But the office is definitely the biggest sector right now that is taking the beating because of the, because of the ability of people to work outside the office.
Sure.
Now, I do believe that there's going to be a little bit of a bounce back from that because the productivity studies are coming out now saying that people are more productive in the office environment than they are from the home in general.
Yeah.
That's a broad statement, but it's, I think in general, probably
Absolutely.
true.
Well, there's a great clip. So in our business, we don't do the work from home thing. We have maybe 3 or 4 positions that are remote out of our 50-person staff. The rest it's all in office or it's in the field. You know what I mean? Project manager, he's on site or he's in the office, one of the two. But there's a great clip of Elon Musk where he talks about he's basically like your Uber driver can't work from home.
Right.
He actually turned it into a why do you feel so privileged that you should get to work from home, that it's a demand that you must work from home.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of the work from home thing. I get it that in some industries it might make sense, but personally, when I need to get work done, I don't stay at home. I go to the office.
Yeah.
So it's I get it. And
I'm that way too.
Yeah. I'd rather be at the office if I need to work, and if I'm not working, I go home.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I experienced the what's interesting about what you were saying about the office space is I was actually negotiating with our landlord where we have a couple suites that we're kind of like piecing together a little block of suites in the building that we're in. And I wanted to pick up one that has been vacant since we've been there, like 2.5 years. It's been vacant the whole time. I'm like, hey, I'll take this from you. It's a bigger one, so they haven't found somebody to lease it to. And I'm like, but I need a break on the rate because it's been vacant, and it's going to save you a lot of money because you won't have to then split it up. And they were just like, nope, we'd rather leave it vacant.
Yeah.
And I was shocked at how there's kind of just a non-recognition of the fact that there's just a ton of space available. Do you think that, and even in multiple places where I went around and looked for office space, they were all very firm in their price. What didn't make sense to me is why not sign a shorter term lease at a lower price to at least get some sort of revenue off of that? Is there some like thing on the back end that I, as an uninformed consumer, don't know about that would cause a landlord to stick on their price like that rather than just get somebody in there, and even on a short term lease?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that's probably just an individual owner with their own strategies and how they want to handle things. I would be an owner that would tend to say, well, some's better than nothing.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Let's try to make something happen.
Sure.
And
like I said, a guy that makes a deal.
Yeah. But, if say you may be in a debt situation where you can't do that.
Sure.
Or there may be something about the structure itself that you can't modify, without extensive costs and whatnot. So, there's a lot of factors that come into play. But I think that's probably just everybody's an individual and how they handle things.
Yeah.
And another one is build out. Some landlords say, well, here's your space, take it.
Yeah.
This is what it's going to cost. But you may need to do a lot of build out, and some tenants can't afford that. And, so they're dependent on a landlord that will build out the space for them. Of course, the landlord's going to want a different rent for that as well.
Of course.
So anyways, I think that's more of an individual choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm, we'll kind of wrap up on this for you as an individual in the future. You know a lot of people. It's, I hear your name come up in Pasco and in other places. Is there a potential for you entering the political scene in local politics or anything in the future?
No.
Wow.
That's a hard no.
No lag. No lag.
No.
Why is that? I'm just curious because I see people who are successful like you are, who are very well known, well respected, by the way, as well in the community. Yeah. It's kind of just a natural transition. Why do you say no? And I don't think it's bad.
My mother served on this Pasco County School Board for 20 years.
Yeah.
Alan, my partner, his wife, Allison, for 14 years.
Yep.
On the school board.
Yeah.
But in the business that I'm in, especially the fact that I'm a land guy.
Yeah.
I have to go in front of the county commission.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but there's many times that the deals that I'm working on are depending on a vote.
Yeah.
For a land use change or a zoning change or MPUD approval of something of that nature.
Yeah.
And for me, I have to get along.
Yeah.
With try to get along with everybody.
Yeah.
And so, I think if you become too political, sometimes it doesn't help you.
Sure.
When you actually need something.
Yeah.
And so I'm in politics because of the business I'm in, I have to be.
Yeah.
But I also like having good relationships with people that are in office.
Yeah.
And and I try to make a good, strong effort to make that happen.
What one follow-on question, since you do deal with local political figures all the time, who's a local politician either in Pasco or Pinellas or Hillsborough who does a great job and doesn't get enough public credit for the great job that they do? Not to the detriment of anybody, but who's the one where you're like, man, that person really goes to bat for the businesses or for the people?
Oh, there's so many that and they're all, most all of them are very good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing the right thing and they're doing it for the right reason.
Yeah. Who's one that stands out as like, man, that guy really does a great job? Anybody?
Well, I'll tell you, if there's one person that, if you made me choose one person in any particular political situation, I would say Wilton Simpson.
Yeah. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to have a one-on-one, but he talked to my leadership Pasco class.
Right.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wilton, he's a business person.
Yep.
He
has a state Senate seat, right?
No, he's the Commissioner of Agriculture now, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. He was a senator. Yeah. Yeah.
The state of Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good for him.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
And, of course, the local, like the county commissioners, I get along. They're all really good people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Great people. And, but if there was one go-to person that I had to go to, for something that was really, really important.
Yeah.
And I know that he would say either yes or no, but I would feel comfortable with his answer because it would be for a very, very right reason.
Yeah.
It would be Wilton Simpson.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. That's interesting that's the person you chose. That's the only state representative that I actually would recognize just off the bat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Great guy. He comes from I don't know what the term. I know he's from Dade City.
Yeah.
But it's like his family has poultry farms.
Yeah.
They're chicken and eggs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
don't ask him which came
and
first.
a cleaning. I think they do industrial cleaning of some type as well.
That's right.
Yeah, but the eggs. Very, very big in egg production. Yeah.
Yeah. They are. Well, Dewey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for the time. Obviously people can obviously support you by, through real estate transactions. You want to give any type of a plug here at the end for Berkshire Hathaway?
Yeah, I'd say that, we work extremely, extremely hard to do the right things and do everything we can in a very professional manner. And, our people, they're trained, they work hard, they're educated, they're trying to do the best that they can do for the consumer out there. And I feel very, very confident that anybody that you would deal with involved in our company, that they would handle it with the highest of integrity and professionalism.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. Yeah, well, I've had nothing but great experiences with Berkshire Hathaway people I've dealt with.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Appreciate you being on here, sir.
Enjoyed being here.
Yeah,
thank you,
good.
All right.